Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Hi, everybody. Hi, Isabel. She was first. And hi, everybody else. We're starting our weekly Webflow SEO. Another Thursday, another weekly, another Thursday, another weekly Webflow SEO live stream. And today we're joined by none other than Jay himself.
Hey
And
everyone, how's it going?
and the topic of the day is website conversions, website optimization in terms of getting more conversions and things like that. We're gonna get deeper into that as time progresses. But first, let's take a look at what we have prepared for you guys. All right, so today we're talking about website conversions. And before we dig into that, our guest is Jay, and follow him on Twitter at Delisle domain. And he has an agency that specializes in Webflow development. And if you want, especially a monthly Webflow development service, check him out. And also another thing I really think you should check out is his free landing page guide. So if you go here, I'm just going to share it now in the chat. Here you go, guys. If you go here, you should be able to get, yeah. All right, I shared it. So yeah, if you go here, you should be able to sign on and get access to his guide on how to optimize and do your landing page right. So that's pretty much it. And for those who don't know, we're Content Nest with a Webflow and SEO agency. We do blog posts and publish on your site weekly. We also manage your website and do all other SEO stuff. And then if you're a website developer, designer, and you work with Webflow, you can also visit our affiliate and check it out, what we can do for you together. And yeah, I'm search historian, and today we're talking about website optimization. So with that intro out of the way, hey Jay, how are you doing?
Good man. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day where I'm at. Hopefully it's the same for you. Enjoying some hot coffee. And thanks for having me. Really excited just to sit down and just chat, all things conversion, Webflow, whatever comes up,
Okay, so let's dig into beginnings. Like, when did you find out about Webflow, and how, and what did you do before, and how did you find out? Like, what's the story there?
Yeah, so I actually, I'll go back a little bit. So I actually graduated college, actually not even in software or anything. I went to college for mechanical engineering. I'm a huge car guy, motorcycle, gearhead type of person, so that's why I went for there. Graduated, worked in the field for 2 years and really hated it. And on the side, I started to learn and look into software, web development, things like that. So I did that for a few years and actually got into software and switched careers right before the pandemic hit. So end of 2019. And then from there, I continued to learn web dev on top of my day job. And that took me for a few years. And then Webflow came up because I started to do freelancing, and I love to code. And that's kind of coming from a developer, technical, point of view. But the thing is, it was just takes so long to make websites straight from code. And I didn't like WordPress. I just didn't feel I didn't like working with it. So I wasn't going to do something I didn't like working with. And then I started to see Webflow, and I just checked it out, and I fell in love with it right away. One of the main reasons is, and I say this all the time, is because a lot of people will say Webflow, it's just another page website builder, but I disagree. I think it's a actual code editor or code environment that's visual for web development. And so having the HTML and CSS background, I learned it real quick, picked it up, and it was able to start building sites way faster than I was before. Increased efficiency, and it's just a joy to work with. And I think, obviously it's on the upward trend, and I think it's going to continue to grow because I think it's a great product. But I love it. That's kind of how I got into Webflow. I've been doing so kind of going back Webflow. I've been probably about between 2 and 3 years now.
All right. That's so right. That's like that whole before pandemic shift, and like there's a lot of elements to it, and I think a lot of of us can relate. The past few years were fun, and it was great time to change, just to say like change gears and go to something else. And yeah, and also really love the idea that you say, you know, it's not a another cookie cutter website development tool. It's actual code editor. It's just visual. That's the change. But if you don't understand code, then it's probably going to be harder for you to learn rather than when you get it, right? Was that your experience?
Yeah, I think, like I said, because I already knew, I was not a JavaScript expert by any means, but I knew, you know, I knew about it. I knew how to do simple things, but I knew HTML and CSS, and knowing that definitely decreased the learning curve a ton. You know, I mean, the first time I jumped in, I was able to, you know, I knew what I was doing. I knew what values were being touched, and I knew if I, you know, clicked on, you know, a grid system, that it was using the grid CSS system and how that was working. And so, you know, it helps to know those things, because then you can see what's happening and you know why it's happening. Helps with debugging, helps with build speed and all that. So I always recommend, if you want to learn Webflow, you know, just jump into HTML, CSS a little bit. You know, I don't think it's a requirement, but I definitely think it reduces the severity of the learning curve, if you will.
Yeah, I would maybe add like another thing why you would need to a little bit at least understand, or at least the basics, is
Right.
you will catch faster when you make a mistake why this is happening, because like it's really hard to grasp in the beginning if you've never understood how CSS works, that if you change like something in a class, it changes everywhere. And that's a little bit weird concept, even though it's obvious if you ever work with CSS. But if it's your first time ever building a site, these kind of tiny things like that is like an annoying thing, that it takes way too long to get what's happening here and why this is a problem than it should to, right?
Yeah, I actually, if you ever see, like, whenever you're in the community or on forums, right, you can always tell, and people will ask questions, and it can be easier to spot where they're trying to approach the problem from this is a Webflow thing, when in reality it's not a Webflow thing, it's a web development thing. And so I think, like you just nailed, knowing those basics and those backgrounds helps you to figure out problems and debug things a lot easier, you know?
All right. So with that, jumping in, next question I really have before we kind of dive all in into this is, why optimization? Why conversion rate? How did that happen? Like, this sounds like a little bit of marketing side of things. So it's kind of awesome that you have this developer slash marketer slash optimizing conversion, like this kind of background. But how did it kind of happen? How did you get into that? Like, how development plus what seems to be marketing, but now things are so mixing and merging together.
Yeah.
And, you know, jack of all trades, master of none, but better than master of one is now the
Yep.
current meta that we live in, and as professionals, the way we have to work. So tell us a little bit about that side of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, which I think is good. So I'll try to answer it in parts. But like, optimization, kind of for me, right, is, again, coming from a technical background. I'm a big math and science guy. I love numbers. I love data. I love analyzing. And to me, optimizing, well, websites in general, I think, and I think you always say this too, they're never done, right? You always need to continually update content, optimize for your visitors and things like that. And so it's almost like a game to me, right? You kind of gamify it, like you're trying to optimize and increase the conversion rate by knowing what's going on, analyzing data, how to get better data. And so I think that just kind of fit into my likes of just numbers and dealing with that. Kind of going from the developer side, right? So I love, again, I love to code. I'm really intrigued by it. It's a passion of mine, right? But the one thing I noticed is there can be, or I guess the web development, not community, but a lot of people will say coders don't know how to like sell things or how to market, right? And there's always like this meme going around of like 1 week's marketing week and 1 week's development week and all that. And so me personally, I saw that as a I don't want I would say like a weakness for me, right? Because I'm also big into like just improving everything, right? Improving life habits, all that. And so to me, coming from a business perspective, I was like, well, if that is a thing, it could be an advantage to one, know how to code, right? Do all development, but also know the marketing side of things and how things work in marketing, how to sell, how to present things or position things so that people understand what it is you do and how you solve problems and you touch their, pain points and things like that. So that's kind of how I got into the more marketing side of things, was just trying to learn myself to be a better marketer in general. And again, to be a more well-rounded, kind of coming at it from the technical development side as well as the marketing and client-facing side, if you will. And the other thing that I think has been kind of helping or pushing me on that side as well in the last, I would say probably since the pandemic, but is the rise of no code, right? And I think it's great. I think it lowers the barrier for entry for people, and so in my mind, it kind of was like, all right, more people are going to start developing even with no code things. So it kind of commoditizes the development side of things, right? Now, I'm not saying it's putting developers out of jobs or anything like that, but there's going to be more people, there's more competition, right? And so if that's true, then what's going to be there for me as a developer and business owner and runner that's going to set me apart? And so that's kind of, again, how I went from that to the marketing side. And then the marketing side is very, again, the conversion rate is just numbers. And I love numbers. I love optimizing. I'm a big optimizer in general, right? Like I love to optimize my daily habits, my life, my process. Like that's just something I've always liked. And so bringing all that together with code development, web marketing, helping people, helping others, helping their business, it just felt like the perfect fit. And it's not like something I chose right away. It just kind of happened that way and fell into place.
So what
I hope that
clients
kind
started
of goes, kind of brings it all together. But
you said it kind of happened. It chose you. It didn't choose it. So did clients start asking to optimize stuff and they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And just gave it a shot and that's how it went? Something like that?
yeah, a little bit of that, a little bit of just seeing kind of trends and things that you see. And like there's so many times, even just in my daily, I'll call it daily walk, right? Where you land on a website and I look at it and I'm like, I couldn't tell you what this does or what this product is or, who they're trying to reach. And so I started to realize more so the need for increasing conversions. And the other side of that too is kind of as I'm learning marketing and development, right, is also learning business. And at the same time, I think it's very easy in the Twitter atmosphere where I'm very active, is that things can kind of get overlooked and people tend to forget, like local businesses and small businesses outside of Twitter they're not on the front edge like we are with marketing, tech, and development things, right? And so taking all that and seeing, well, it's harder just to go to a local business or a business that doesn't really know what Webflow is and just say, oh, I build websites. It's not, they're a lot of times they think, okay, so what, I have a website, it doesn't really matter, or and a lot of times I feel like they don't see the importance of it, right? And so that kind of, again, comes back to the marketing, and you can see the need for to help them, right? When you're helping other businesses, the way I look at least, is I want to help them increase their revenue. I want to help them make more money. That's the cash flow is the blood to a business, and that's what they're all trying to do more of. And a lot of times I see a lot of businesses and people have a website, but they don't understand the power behind the website because it's not working, and they just think it's, let's slap up a website. Everyone's got one. That's all and then they just let it be. It dies. They have a bad experience with it, and it's not doing what it's supposed to. And so I just love the idea of being able to come into that, either that atmosphere or whatever, help a client out, help them to see the value in a website, and then start to show them like, hey, like we can work on this. We can make people actually start, booking calls or buying your product or whatever it is. And we can increase that. And on top of that, with a lot of traffic, conversion rate optimization it's a big lever to pull. If you have the traffic coming in, just little small changes and tweaks can really blow up your revenue. So again, there's a lot of things there, but it's a big value thing. It fits a lot of my interests, and I think it's a big help to other people and businesses.
Yeah, there's so much gold in this. If you're a small business owner, or medium or big, and you're watching this right now, I think last 10 minutes were could have been mind opening, eye opening. Could have been just something like that you remember from the past or something. There's a lot of gold was here. I felt it with my body, and I've been there so many times with so many different clients.
Yep.
On the flip side, I have the benefit that usually my clients a little bit better understand what it is because they're already looking for content, and they're looking for like growing their sites, and they already understand what to look for and what kind of services they need. In some cases, but with Webflow, it's still, we're kind of learning how that whole thing grows, how to do it, and all right, so with that out of the way and the beginning kind of done, hey Shane, and yes, Isabel, we saw your question. It's on the list. We're gonna answer it, okay, soon. So all right, guys, so let's jump right into this. I'm just double checking everything is working. So the math is obvious. Can you explain us the math? What is conversion rate? I just made this nice banner, but
yeah, no, it's perfect. I mean, I think a lot of times people hear the big words of conversion rate optimization, and they think it's this, wicked complex thing that, you need a specialist to understand what it is. And it's really not. All it is, in simple terms, is you have so many people coming to your site. What's the rate at what those visitors come to your site convert into a booked call or a bought product or email sign up, right? Whatever the end goal is or the end metric is that you want to test and look at, you want to see how many of those visitors actually do that outcome. So you have the total, let's say you have, 30,000 visitors per month, and you have, out of those 30,000 visitors, you had, 1,000 of those people bought your product or signed up the email or booked the call. And you just do the simple math of the total people that converted divided by the total amount, and that gives you your percentage, after you multiply by 100, obviously. But I think it's cool because it is a simple formula, right? It's three things.
Fundamentally,
it's
simple, very simple
and straightforward, but it has big improvements and big leverage and effect on businesses.
All right, let's move to first question I had, and that was, what kind of professional should businesses look when wanting to improve their conversion? Like, is there a specific type of person, or is this anybody who's just want to do it, or like how would you advise small, medium, or even enterprise businesses to approach this? Like, do look for it, like, how would you advise that?
I think the one thing that kind of stands out to me right away is, and a lot of times this is like building websites, web development, things like that, right? This really is not a one and done thing, right? It's not something you come in, you do right away, and then it's done and see you later, right? It's kind of building a partnership, because there's a lot that goes into, even though the formula is simple, to actually convert more leads and kind of increase that at a well-rounded rate. There's a lot that goes into it. And so I think the biggest thing when you're looking for, a CRO expert or someone to work with is, and it sounds cliche at the start, but it's mindset to me. You want to find someone that has the mindset that I'm here to help your business grow. I'm here to help you out, right? And so if they're not looking at it as a way of helping your business grow and helping your business do better and where you can improve, then they don't even have the right mindset to effectively do the conversion rate optimization in a full manner, right? One of the things I always try to tell and give off that vibe of working with people is like, this is a partnership. I want to see your business grow, and by doing that, I'm going to bring my expertise and what I know how to do, because there is a lot of working together. You know, you have to get your marketing plan down. You have to know what type of who's your ideal customer. What are they like? What kind of language are they using? There's so much that goes into it. You want someone that is kind of like a teammate in a sense. They're not going to kind of come in, do whatever their process is, and just be done. Like, all right, we did what we did. Here you go. Have fun. Like, because CRO, like, optimization is never done. You can always continue to optimize. You can do that. And the best thing about it from a business point of view, and having this person with that mindset is, let's say you hire someone now. A year from now, your business, whoever just hired them, is probably different. You're probably could be, or, you know, not always, but could be at a different level, could be reaching a different demographic or a different amount of people. And guess what? Everything you did a year ago now changes or needs additional work to kind of convert, because maybe you hit another market, or maybe you niche down and you can get more specific with your copy. There's all different things. And so I just like the idea of building that idea of a partnership. You're there to help them, and it's always going to be changing. You don't want to hire someone that doesn't have that mindset, in my opinion. And that goes outside of having obviously the skills and know-how of what to do. But I think for small businesses and businesses in general, that is your best filter, if you will.
Yeah, Shane is asking saying short sales cycle businesses, in my opinion, and e-com spend billions a year improving this. Yeah, as like we just spoke in the beginning, while Shane was still not here. I think it's something that some business owners or teams or something might have bad experiences with websites, because not understanding that it's ever-going process. There's so many things involved, and so yeah, and a good example is that, you know, usually don't know, that there's this Amazon, or there's this other big company, or other e-commerce business, or other even if you're like in a very niche, that they exist, but you don't know how much traffic they're getting, right? Because you go to a website as a business owner that doesn't have like tools that we do, right? That SEOs do, that content managers do, that you have, for sure you have, and you don't know none of those metrics. You just look at it and you don't know how much do they sell. You don't know how much money do they make. I don't know, unless it's like a public company, which again, if they're a public company, they're doing more than just this website. But yeah, you never know. And that's where the bad experience happens. Oh, I'm going to slap together a website and let's just, go about it. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. So like, there's one of the things that even when I'm trying to increase optimization rate, there is like CRO is I like to look at it as like an end of funnel, or not the marketing funnel, but an end of development phase, right? Like CRO and conversion rate optimization, if you only have 100 people come to your website every month, like you could have the best specialist in CRO come in and do what they normally do, but you don't have the numbers to see the benefits. You don't have the traffic to see all that happen. And kind of going off of Shane's comment, like this is why it's so huge in ecom, because ecom stores tend to get tons of traffic, whether that's through paid ads, TikTok, whatever it is, right? If you're in some of them getting 1 million visits a month, right? And if you can just improve a conversion by like even 0.5%, it could be, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. And again, it's one of those things that the leverage there is just insane. But that being all said, you have to have the foundations and the fundamentals in place before you even get to that point. It's again, just kind of combining the web dev background. Like that's why a website fundamentals and how it's done is so important. How it's built, how it's the copywriting, the design, all of it. And like you even said earlier in this stream, like everything's starting to mesh together even more. And it's like, you have to kind of follow the steps to get to the next stage, if you will, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I think, you have to know that you're ready or you're working towards doing that. Again, like you can't have just 100 visitors each month and want to be running A/B tests and things like that. It's just not going to work, you know. That being said, however, I think you can always conversion optimize no matter what stage you're at. And I say that in the sense of, if you only have 100 visitors to your page, well, like, what still are they converting? Are you getting the right traffic as 100 visitors? Is it not even close? Is it random people that have no correlation to what you're trying to talk about? And I'm sure you see this in the SEO side of things, is even at that point, there's little things and even sometimes big things you can do to improve your optimization, your conversion rates, and things like that.
Colleen is saying she is also late, just as Shane. So don't worry, Colleen. You can always rewatch stuff.
It's good.
It's the internet. It's not gone after we're done. So, and Jake was also late. But yeah, you can guys rewatch. In the beginning, we were chatting about how Jay's life started. You know, his early childhood traumas and things like that. So it's not all right.
Yeah,
but moving towards okay, I want to jump a little bit, and we're almost halfway into the stream. We usually take longer if we feel like it, so it's not necessarily just an hour, as those who know, but those who watched before know. But so I want to come back to Isabel. Had like a very good question. Can you read it out loud while I find where we had the same one prepared? Okay, right, man. Start with that.
So Isabel was asking, what kind of mistakes do you see the most on websites that will reduce conversions? And it seems like such a simple question, right? But there's so many different things that I see, and it depends on the niche, you know. Like for instance, I see a lot of landing pages, websites for SaaS, right? I land on their page, and even with the developer background, I'm like, what is this for? What does this do, right? Like a lot of times, conversions can be attributed to your marketing in general. And so I always try to preach or say, like, you have to have a cohesive marketing plan between everything, right? You can't be talking to one ICP here and then you change your tone and talk here. And you have to remember, and I see this a lot too, there's a lot of different things I'm going to say that I see a lot, but the website, it's not for you, right? It's not for you. You're trying to talk and answer the pain points, the questions that your visitor or your ideal customer or your ideal, client have. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is just people tend to overcomplicate the copy. They don't make it clear, simple, and effective, right? And they don't themselves have a clear focus on who they're trying to reach. I think a lot of times, even just nailing down who your ideal client is or customer for your product, and knowing what pains they feel, what language they're using, and how they're talking about those things, as well as the clarity and being simple with that, is one of the biggest things, right? And that's kind of just an overall arching thing that I notice a lot. Now, kind of getting more, I'll say technical, but it's not really technical. More of like the layout on like conversions and things like that. And so here's another thing I want to make a distinction on, is like a lot of times I'll say like website or landing page, and I think they have totally different purposes. And I see people kind of lump them together a lot, right? I like to look at a website as like your content hub. It's a warmer. It tells you about what you're doing, what your company is, it still answers all those questions, but it's a place people can come, find resources, see your expertise, see who you're working with, right? But when you're doing a landing page is very different. It's, your website, kind of, you cast a net out and try to pull and get traffic there. A landing page is very funnel focused, very specific. One outcome, one clear outcome, one purpose, and one type of traffic or type of person in that traffic, right? And so one of the things I see so often is that distinction rather is not being used properly, right? I'll see landing pages all the time, and it's like they're using it for paid ads traffic, right? But then they're talking about, something else that really doesn't appeal to that type of traffic or those type of people for that product, right? And so I think knowing the difference between the two, and then obviously optimizing and working together on both of those, and obviously they're both part of a bigger marketing plan, helps a lot. Now, when you come to the actual page structure and layout, I think that's one of the biggest things I see too, and that being results. If someone, this might be a question I think you have later, but what's like the biggest thing you can do to increase conversion? If I had to answer in one thing you can do to increase your conversions, it would be showing results or outcomes, whatever, however it is, right? If you are a service-based business, how much money have you gotten for your past clients? If you're a product that, solves a pain point, like, I'm trying to think of like something, maybe it's like health and fitness, right? You started taking this product and I've increased my focus by 20%, or, hard numbers always sell, results always sell, and the social proof around that is what sells. That's the biggest thing you can do. I always say you can never have too much social proof. You can never have too many results and outcomes, because psychologically that's what people want to see. That's the biggest building trust factor. They land on it, they see like, oh, this product is good, people are buying it. Okay, people are buying it, so that's good. What does it actually do? Oh, okay, it does that. I have that pain point. And then you supplement that with more social proof of people love this thing. They love the product. They're raving about it. They can't live without it. And it's, again, the landing page process, just trying to build and keep that trust going. And I think, again, the best way you can increase your conversions is to show results. Results-driven conversion is doing a lot of the heavy work for you, if you will. So I know that was kind of a lot and kind of all over the place, but I tend to rant a lot. So feel free to pull me back in when I go too far out.
I mean, honestly, for those that watch often, by the way, I'm just going to change this Yoda into this one. So it clears. Oh, wait, I made a spelling mistake. So, yeah, I loved, you know what? The most, I love the part where you said, wait, yeah, now I fixed it. All right. So I love the part where you said, website is not but landing page is not your website. And that's something like as an SEO and content team and like, because we don't focus on what you focus in theories. We are used to usually that somebody else focuses in, or we have a team member within our team that is focusing on that. But usually like our main goal is always getting more leads through the door, as in visiting your website. And, and for stuff like that, don't overcomplicate the copy is the worst advice you can have, because we overcomplicate the copy and we work on it and we make sure that it's dense. And it's not, people tend to think like, oh, websites, SEO, spammy, bullshit, whatever. It's not actually that. Yeah. In current age, where semantic SEO a few years ago became a thing, it's no longer just keyword stuffing, and you just have to understand who are you fighting in the same lineup of 10 websites that will be shown on the first page, and be similar. But landing pages, as you said, like, I love that idea. Like, landing pages are different. They're for specific intent, for specific change, and usually that traffic should be sent to those landing pages when they match it. And different,
exactly.
Different pages that we made. For example, our team made 60 pages for you, and they're all now ranking position 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, whatever in their, in the fights they picked in the search results. And that traffic should be sent to an optimized, landing page that will solve that problem for all of those people. And that's something hard to understand, or those who optimize conversion rate optimize above the fold. So there's another thing that can be done, as in, especially for certain things, when it's just one click install, one click, buy or log in or whatever, you can't do that. But there's two different, like, you and me seem like we do the same thing, But actually, we do opposite stuff. I try to make sure that if your website is a store, I try to make sure that a lot of people walk through the store. It's very visible. There's a lighting arrow to your store, and you make sure that when people get through the store, we gotta get the most we can do with all that traffic coming in. And that's two different thinking angles. If anybody has any questions for Jay or me, just drop them in. And yeah, but really love this kind of the way this is going. Yeah, anything to add on top of that? Because that idea I really loved.
Yeah, I mean, I just see it a lot. I'm a big proponent of everything has its purpose, and those purposes are not always the same. And again, as we've said earlier, as the web and marketing space kind of seems like everything starts to intertwine more, intertwingle, it's important to make the distinction between landing pages and websites, especially for me and what I'm doing, because I do build out landing pages for clients, and it's not the same as your website. And I think a lot of people that aren't in this space, they think they're the same thing. They think that the words kind of are synonymous, if you will, right? So I think it's a good distinction to make. And yeah, I totally agree. It's funny because like a lot of there's big differences with optimizing for conversion rates versus optimizing for SEO to get traffic. Like they're not the same thing, right? They're both optimizations, don't get me wrong, but the way you do it, the end goal, and the processes aren't the same, obviously.
That's really something I think I'm not now even gonna add it. So CRO optimization and SEO optimization are two different things. Yeah, and that's I think like. Wait, I have to change that. But yeah, that's like something that not a lot of people are aware of, and that's even usually requires like different teams,
100%.
Different attitudes, different things, and that also requires. I actually now came up with an idea. So, and that also requires different. That's a segue to where was it? Here, different tools. So
yes,
what do we need to know about tools when thinking about optimization, conversion? And before we run on a tangent, I'm also going to add another question next to it as an SEO, question like, will conversion tracking software slow down my website? Because I know you're going to say, yes, we need, but you do you.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the times, and everyone always says, well, I guess not everyone, but it depends. There's a lot of it depends here, right? It depends where you're at. It depends on how much traffic you're getting. There's all kinds of different ways to approach it, right? At a bare minimum, it's hard to track conversions if you don't have numbers, right? Like you need numbers. And so in order to get those numbers, you do need some kind of software to at a bare minimum at least know how many visitors you're getting, and then being able to attribute those visitors to conversions when they convert, right? And so it's a yes or no question. Yes, you need it to track it, but there are things you can do to greatly increase conversions without having the software in place. Software definitely helps and is a great addition, and allows you to get more refined as you go, right? That's why, for instance, like the e-com stores, like that Shane brought up earlier, like 100%, you need the tracking software. You need the software to there's so much traffic there. There's so much going on. You need clarity in the data. Now that being said, I'm like coming from the technical background, I have strong opinions about the use of some tools because they do slow things down. I personally, a lot of people use the Google Analytics, and I do not use it. Like I just don't intend to, because of a few reasons, and that being when you add Google Analytics, there's a significant slowdown in your site that's noticeable. I've seen people do it on like a bare bones site and it loses 10 points in performance, and like there's no need for that, right? I tend to use kind of more bare bones or streamlined tools for tracking the traffic. I love to use like Plausible or Fathom, kind of things like those that are very performance not inducing. Now, that being said, and I've been trying to look at this in Webflow, I just haven't had the time. For those that have a developer background or want to get really technical, there's this thing called Party Town. And basically what it does is it takes out, and I'm probably not going to get this technically right, but I'm trying to. So what it does is it basically allows for analytics to run, but not kind of in the same, it doesn't have to run on the thread that all the JavaScript executing on page load does. So it kind of takes it off that thread, it allows it to work and do its thing through a worker. And so there's no performance hit. And so basically it takes out the performance hit of Google Analytics or things like that. And so I think that's really cool. I think that is a new technology that people are going to try to really start to use and push, because it allows you to take JavaScript that's executed on the browser and put it into a worker to not affect the main thread. And that's where biggest slowdowns, can occur. I haven't implemented it in Webflow yet. Again, just have to find the time to kind of experiment and do it all. But I think that's a really cool thing. So that's kind of an analytics side of things, right? Apart from the analytics, I think which is really helpful is having whether it's a recording of when they land on your site and what they do, so you can see what they're doing in the sense of their journey, right? Or a heat map. It's kind of the same. Usually the softwares that have both. You can kind of see where clicks are happening. And the biggest pro to having that is you can kind of put yourself in their mind. You can see what content is pulling their attention or pulling their view, right? But you can also see the content that they skip right over. And a lot of times it's like, we have this killer content. Let's put it out there, whatever it is, or this killer section to really show what we do, and you put it out there and you notice that people don't even stop. They scroll right by it. And it's like, it's a humbling thing, but it also helps for you to see and kind of really dial in what your visitors are like, what's attracting them, what they like to see, what language is working. And again, it's why I always say conversion rate websites are never done, because now you have that. All right, let's take that out. Let's try something different. Let's try to put something else that pulls attention. Oh, this is really hot. They're clicking here a lot. Why are they clicking here? They're clicking on this. It's not even a button, but why are they clicking here? How can we use that to, again, funnel them down to the end goal, the outcome, whatever it is. And again, with those, it's there are ways around the performance hits, right? If you have a team of developers or whatever agencies, like they should know how to circumvent that performance hit, because there are ways around it. And so I agree, the performance is a big topic, but it's not a showstopper, because there are ways around it. It might take extra work, and there are also things to do, but
I would add losing a few points on fictional lighthouse score or whatever is still worth if you can, if it's still within the norms. That's why code is there, right? That's not something that you should skip functionality on your website to just get at 99 or 100, as opposed of having 97 or 96 or even 90. Who cares? But having all the functionality, all the scripts and everything you need, because why would you do that?
The return on having a 90 on desktop and having that software will give you greater returns, greater data, greater clarity in what to do, and in turn better revenue than if you had 100 without it. Like a lot of things, it's very you have to actually weigh out. That's why I always say it depends, but like you can't. There is this line you can cross where you can over optimize in the wrong way, obviously, and I think that's in any field.
By the way, Shane, you're gonna love this. So, I mean, last week we were talking about this. So coming back, Isabel asked, commented did a comment. So wait, I'm trying to find the perfect layout for this. It's a big comment. I have to, I think, turn this off. So a lot of time managers, bosses want the product to be everything and solve every problem. They're scared on the sole purpose by the product, which can be frustrating for a marketer, which Shane, by the way, replied backwards that it makes a great point. And they definitely struggle with that. Nothing is actually the best thing you can do. Yeah, growing online is tough. Like, it's really tough. You need to understand so many different concepts. Like, I intentionally know what I'm not doing and my team is not doing. And I would know that one day maybe we will be doing that, but I will outsource it to people like Jay, people like Shane, people like whoever. I need to outsource it because it's better, easier, faster. Collaboration is key, right? So same works with SEO and CRO. Like, always, if there's a good UI UX designer for the site, or especially if they're like a software company, if there's a good developer, if there's a good CRO or marketing guy who's going to be working on that, or a girl or whoever, if there's a great SEO and content team, if I have a great editor or whatever, it doesn't matter if it's internal or we have to find that external or whatever. My experience always show that best projects happen when you have a team that everybody's kind of working on their own things and they're making sacrifices for other team members, because you and me would be on the opposite sides of the spectrum. You want 7 words on that website and a big button, right? And I need 3,000 on the same page. So we have to come to some sort of conclusion. And like, do you have any experiences of that, like working with internal teams or external help or whatever, like when it's hard to find that balance, or any stories about finding that balance and how it kind of resulted in a big happy website with a lot of happy money and tokens and cash?
I mean, I think it's a big thing here, and it happens a lot, kind of going over Isabel's kind of point too. Like, I have that all the time. And I say this a lot and people call it cliche, but it depends, right? And it all goes back to, if you don't have a good plan or good plan of action, right? So like, and that's why websites are so important now. There's like, you need a team. Like, you have to have your content team, your SEO team, your CRO team. Like, obviously this is different if you have a small business, you don't have all those, but even working with other agencies or whatever, or if you're trying to make a website, your developer should know about this stuff. Is like, you have to look at, all right, what is the goal of this website, or what is the goal of this update, or what is the goal of this content? And you have to make decisions that go with that goal, right? Even like, I show it to like relationships a lot, right? Like, whoever the relationship's with, right? Like, you could have times where you're fighting, whether it's with a best friend or whether it's with a partner or whatever it is. Like, you could be fighting, going back and forth, right? And they're going back and forth and they're fighting, but they're fighting based on their own point of view, and they forget the problems up here and they're not even addressing the problem. And like, I see that in, agency or working with other teams. They start to like, they put their foot or in the sand or the ground, and they're like, no, we need this for CRO. And it's like, well, they need this for SEO, and it's back and forth. And like, well, what's the goal? Again, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to prop up traffic more? Are we trying to get more specific and niche down? Like, you have to look at those things, because that's going to determine and show where you can compromise, right? Compromise is great. I think it's needed. I think it has to happen, but you can't compromise blindly. You have to have a purpose in the compromise with whatever team you're working with, right? And I think, kind of coming from my point of view and dealing with clients a lot, and again, Isabel kind of hit the nail on the head, is like, so many of them kind of want this end goal, but like, they don't have the foundation in place to even like start or even move forward. They want to show off the product. Like, all right, that's great. But like, they haven't even, I'm not saying this is always true either, but like, they want to push the product, but like, they don't even know what the market product fit is. And they're trying to push the product. It's like, you need to know that so you can, talk to those people, talk to the people that are going to use it, find those warmer leads or whatever it is. And it's definitely a challenge to kind of I want to say sell, but like show the importance of that, if you will.
Sorry, was drinking.
It's all good.
Yeah, I think I just put it on for everybody to see. No research, no results. That's something really have to understand, and also no different opinions also can be no results, because if you don't have enough traffic, as you said, like in the beginning, right? There's nothing to optimize for, as in the conversion rate, right? So if you don't work with me or my team, or you have your own team that does SEO or whatever,
you're putting yourself out of the job in a sense if you're a CRO person.
But if you work with me and eventually things are going better, and you don't chat with somebody like Jay to ask for a second opinion, right? Like, hey, how do we improve now this? Because I know on my work, people like you, when they come in, they always like, oh God. And I know, and it's normal, just because we did what needs to be done for search engines, for the what's the current meta, we kind of implemented that. And then other people come in, and then they at least, and if we find a compromise that, look, Jay, take whatever is above the fold, do whatever you want with that, right? And if we really need to do some extra sections or whatever, then let's start to look for that balance, and maybe move that content below that got us here in the first place. So yeah, and that also comes into then things like design and technical speed, and things like that come into play together as a like overall online business strategy, right? I think that's like that's the difficult part for some clients and some and even some agencies that I know, to understand that there's not one way look. There's so many different professionals in any successful site that is making a lot of money, because everybody gives that input, and some people do a lot of research. Some people understand the product. Some people understand the industry we're in. Some people, like me, mostly analyze your competition. Like what else is there? Like what how we can use their strategy against them, how we can do this and that, and then other people are working on other stuff. So websites are never done, but also websites are never one-man army job in the long run. Like in the short term, I would say you can do it, but in the long run, it's probably really difficult, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like if you need to get something out right away, like you can kind of find a good person that's jack of all trades and kind of hits the basics on all levels, right? And then as you get to more, which I find that it's kind of more, you get to the more enterprise levels, the more maturity of the business and all, you start to really need to have those specialists for that kind of take ownership of that on the website. And again, being able to cohesively work together and figure out the problem we're facing and how to bring that solution is really the value, because it's all websites have the same kind of problems, right? There's nothing really new under the sun in that sense. It's just how do we solve it in a way that's right or needed for this business, And I think in the short term you can definitely do it. In the long term, as you grow and want to invest in the growth of the company, you need to really start to kind of have those buckets and specialize in them.
Yeah, specializing in buckets and all that stuff. And Shane is saying you can't compromise blindly. I think he caught it from you saying that out loud. And this is like, I love that. Honestly, working with a team as opposed of just being solo, helping. I mean, when I mean solo, I mean me and my freelancers and team below, and writers and editors and whoever we need to work with to get our stuff happen. But whenever I have to really work on a compromise with the CRO guys and with designers or web designers or UX designers, sometimes they're the same person, or developers. Like whenever you have that, really you have to prove your point, set up arguments and work it out, and then you make sacrifices on your craft, but understandably like agreeing with, okay, we can sacrifice that as long as we're not sacrificing the minimum thing. That's something like that if you're a business owner and you're moving to online, or you want to just start an online business, you have to understand there's going to be a lot of different regions that will overlap and they contradict each other. Page speed contradicts tracking your website.
Yeah.
And SEO contradicts optimizing for conversions. These two things are not the same. And they're quite the opposite, you know?
Yeah. You can't build a website without compromising, period.
You can't build a website without compromising.
One way or the other, you're going to compromise towards another thing that pulls you farther from that one thing, right? Whether it's, you just gave a great example there, but I always say that because like at some point you're going to start to do things that are specific to something else that don't positively affect another thing. And that's where the game plan comes into play. Like, you have to have that goal and game plan, and that will change, and it should change, and it's okay to change, but for those sprints or whatever you like, however you work or however you're looking to improve, or maybe you want to focus on it for this year, have that goal and work to compromise to achieve that goal and plan.
Now we're looking at a meme. Do you think clients can do all of that on their own? Or do you think they can start and they can later, as the profits rank up? Because that return on investment online is really difficult, right? We both know that. It's like getting a design and development agency to build you whatever Webflow website for 10K or for 5K or for 20K or for whatever amount of Ks, and then getting back that money and also making some on top. It's not that simple, right?
Right.
We both, I think, can agree. So should clients internally do that or hire externally or start? Like, what you would think? Because there's different types of clients. We know that, right? There's like small, big, and very big, and very small, and a lot of other things, budgets, marketing budgets. But like, would you say, like, if you're getting a Webflow website, like, what would you advise to those like small, medium, big, large, extra small companies that they're just getting into that website game? What's the first steps and what they can do internally and what needs to be a professional outside, or when does that shift happens? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. So when starting out, right? Like, again, we've said this before, but websites are so intertwined with other areas, right? And so I think if you're starting out in this, or like small, even to medium, you want to hire a web designer developer that at least knows the like fundamentals of conversion, right? And a lot of that can be in the design and kind of the approach to the website and the design itself, right? And then kind of on the other end is when you have bigger companies that are paying 20, 30, 40, 50, I've seen up to 100K for a website. That at that point, I would hope that they realize and know, like, there should be a CRO person on that project. There should be, someone that specializes in that. And we kind of said earlier, like, a website, at some point, you're going to need to have teams for those specific areas. And I think that is a need, because at some point you cross the threshold of you need an expert for that thing, right? When you're starting out, again, as you know, and as people know in this space, like, you can find someone that can build a decent website, decent design, decent, conversions, kind of has a well-rounded approach, right? But as you get to, one is growing yourself as a freelancer if you do those services, and two, as a company looking for those services, you need to specialize. You need to have someone that does conversion rate optimization. You need to have someone that does SEO, because it gets to a point where, like, even myself, I like to learn. So, like, having to try and learn all those things is just too much even for me to learn, right? And so that's why you have to, at some point, I believe, specialize into having an expert on hand, right? And so I think it's easier, per se, quote unquote, easier for those bigger companies that have the budgets for it. That being said, I don't think it's a showstopper at the beginning, right? But kind of going back to what I said with, when you're hiring a CRO, is like that whole mindset thing is you want to make sure people have the technical abilities that they're talking about, where they know the basics and the fundamentals. Even if you're hiring, even if you're looking for designs, right? Like, even if you just want to get Figma designs from a designer, designers today should still have a understanding of, like, CRO and what page structure should look like and things like that. And if you're hiring a developer, they should have, some design background to a degree to understand and do those things, and kind of bring more value. And on the other side of things, like not from a company looking to buy that, but if you're a freelancer yourself, and kind of how I got into my story earlier, is like, how much more value can you bring if you're a developer that actually knows design? Like I was on a call earlier this week, and this company was looking to do some CRO stuff, and I always say I have some experience with design, right? I am not a designer like pushing the edge of design, right? But I know the minimalistic approach of things, the white space typography, and trying to do that, and I'm trying to improve on that, right? Because I come from the technical background. But to them, that was a huge selling point. They're like, oh, so we can just use you and not have to go get a designer and then wait for the designer to pass it up to our developer. Like we can kind of use both. And so if you're in freelancing or in agency work, like that's a huge plus, in providing value. But again, going back to more of the client-facing things, I think at some point the business itself forces specialization on online spaces, because there's just so much there and so much to do. It gets to a point where you can't do it yourself. And I don't say yourself in the sense of a business, even if they hire one person for everything,
Oh yeah, hire one person for everything. Like if you have a budget for that, I think like smallest online team I can imagine is like 4, 5, 6 people, for maybe, let's say more 5, 6, right? That can run a site. But then the site will still be like a boat on one side. It's clearly more of an SEO team, or more of a design team, or more of a whatever, or more
just definitely a specialization.
Or more of a paid marketing team, or whatever. Because even then, if the team is growing that website with those 4, 5 initial kind of hires, cool, but they still have some sort of crooked setup, right? They're not covering all bases. They're probably covering all bases with at least 1 or 2 out of 10, but they're probably not covering all bases in a, oh, this is gonna be amazing level. And that sometimes work, like I always tell those stories. Like I've been in my career like part of teams that were mostly SEO based, and we would run sites and e-commerce sites and a lot of other things. And it would be almost no design, barely any development. We would have guys for that, but in theory we wouldn't care, because if you go from 0 to 50K profits a month in in a year or two, that's what you're going for. Then we're gonna focus on design. Then we're gonna focus on development, like improving code that we have or whatever. But first, we're rushing for that because we're a crooked team. We know what we know, and we don't want to waste time on. We know it would be cool, but that's a nice to have for our team. Now, other teams can be based on paid marketing and CRO. This is another niche to get the same results, the same 50K a year, a month profits or whatever. You can push with paid ads and very well optimized pages, right? And then on the flip side, there's also design, but that's another whole story. So if you guys have any questions for Jay or us, or internal, or any on-topic questions, drop them in. We're still gonna take a few minutes and I'm gonna answer them. And then the one last thing before we jump out or start kind of winding down the podcast, I want to ask, like, we kind of spoke about what clients usually don't know, right? We discussed that kind of part of not understanding complexities and a lot of things we touch, right? But of course, this would be a very bad stream if we would not end up with a very actionable, very beginner-friendly advices, because we have Jay here. So what do you think impacts conversion rate the most? And what are the small wins that usually anybody can look in the beginning for and maybe get something if they're just starting out or just looking into, or they want to just start learning somewhere, like that whole entry-level path, entry-level problems, entry-level solutions. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just getting into it and you want to look at it, I would even just start Googling how do I increase my conversions on my page, or it's a good place to start. You're going to start to see different approaches, different ideas, and you can start to apply those and learn those and see the pros and cons for each, see the strengths and weaknesses for each, and things like that. And then comes down to, again, industry plays a big part and what is known. I always go back to the single best thing you can do, right, is take a look at your page. And again, this is in general, so you have to take it through the filter of if you're selling a product, selling a service, selling a software, right? There's different things. But putting human psychology into place, right, is what is the end outcome? You can just keep that question in you as you design and show off on your page. What is the end outcome? You want to answer that to whoever lands on your page, whoever comes to it, and you want to sell that. And I say sell, but you're not trying to sell it. Like I always say, the best selling is when the product or whatever the service speaks for itself, right? And so the single best thing you can do is show that end outcome, show how much of a change it is, how much of a increase it is, how much, whatever that end outcome is, right? So, in the agency space, a lot of people are like, going off Twitter, like, lead gen agencies booking calls, right? Like you want to show that your product or your service that helps them book calls increases their call amount to a point where they didn't think was possible, or didn't, and so if you can show the end outcome of what that person is, right? So again, they're coming into your page at that pain point, and you can take that pain point and extrapolate and show them the end outcome that they might not even realize is possible or realize is doable or whatever it is. That will convert so much traffic, because you're answering that question and you're building trust with that visitor, that how they feel and you can take them to this point. And again, that's in general. So like you have to filter that through whatever industry you're in. But yeah, showing results, outcomes, and social proof is the biggest thing you can do. I mean, like think about yourself. If you land on a page for doing Christmas shopping, and you land on a page and you're looking for, I don't know, it's like if you're looking for headphones, right? You're looking for headphones, you go on Amazon, you're looking for headphones, and you land on a page and there's no reviews. And then there's this other one over here that's got 5,000 reviews and even 4 stars. Put it at 4 stars, not even 5. Are you going to buy the one with no reviews? I doubt it, right? And so the biggest single thing you can do is just show results, show social proof. That would be the single highest leverage, even without needing like a CRO specialist, that you can do. I had a call with another client this week, and they had so much social proof. Like they were telling me all this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, here's a video for this, and here's them raving about it here. Like, we really think this is going to change the industry." And I agree with them. I think it is going to do that. It's a huge product, but none of it's on their site. Like there's barely any social proof showing off how much people love this and how it's changing their workflow and something. And so the biggest thing they can do is put all that social proof out there. Let your past clients or your past people that bought your product do the raving for you, and your conversions will continually climb and continually, stay high. That's the biggest point, in my opinion, that you can do, whether you're a small business, large business, or whatever.
Yeah. Hey. So I this kind of puts me in this kind of meditative state by listening to you, as in like there's so much, I imagine
there's so much there.
Yeah, and so many situations and so many clients, like I imagine all that, and it kind of starts bubbling and pouring out. And I was thinking like about that whole headphones 5 stars and you don't have stars, but you do. And I think like also understand that it's the internet. You can be creative not only in your copy or your cool design, or be not like the others, or be exactly like the others, or whatever you're going for, right? But you can also sometimes online, any project I worked on, especially if it's an early stage one, you have to be very creative with how you use your resources, because you need that I don't want to say paycheck. I want to say return on investment, because for your
Yep.
client, return on investment, if you work internally, it's your paycheck. And if you work externally, it's again your retainer or your just whatever it is, still some sort of exchange value, you don't have a review, but maybe you sold it to somebody, those headphones or whatever, force them to show a video where they rave about it, put that video as like just a hero video, don't have reviews because you still don't have them. But start planning for that, like really be creative. I think that's the hardest part. But first, talk to somebody like Jay, who understands and reminds you of what's needed, like which parts are. And we have this scrolling in the lower end of the screen, like show the end outcome, show the change, show the increase, show the whatever, And I also put down what we were talking about: pain point, solution, and then outcome. Like focus on these things. Would you add something else to this scrolling bar, or?
No, I think that kind of
down, like it's little words as possible,
Yeah, because I always talk about how a landing page or your website, right? Like more so landing pages, right? But it's a funnel and it's a journey, and that journey they land on this page, and you want this outcome, and you want to funnel them to that. And the biggest part about doing that is building trust, right? You want to build trust. You want to show your competency that you can accomplish those results, and you want to show the results. And through that whole journey, you're trying to show and speak to them in an emotional way to agitate that pain point, and then bring forth your solution as like, you can't live without this now that you're aware of it, right? Because there's all different people in the funnel. Some are aware of their problem, some aren't. Some are aware and looking, some are aware, and there's all different things, right? But you want to keep it simple. Even in your marketing, try to keep it very simple. And I think, what's the pain point, what's the solution to it, and what are the outcomes that our solution provides or does, or whatever. And I think that's great. And I also want to kind of jump back real quick on what you said about the creativity part. I have so many people, even just online, you see like, well, we're starting out, I don't have all these reviews, I don't have all this. And I kind of want to echo your point, because I think the creativity in that point is really what sells. I mean, like social proof, when I say social proof, and maybe make this distinction, I don't just mean like show your reviews, show your testimony, like that's all part of it, don't get me wrong, and those carry a lot of weight. But there's so many other ways to do social proof that aren't that. And when you're just starting out, there's like you said, you have to get creative to bring about something like that. There's always something you can do when starting out to showcase your solution or product or whatever it is that is social proof, but not the high-hitting ones of like, oh, these are the testimonials from past clients, or these are the reviews that we have on our product. Like, they are great, those are needed. But when you don't have those, there are options to work around that, if you will. And I think people don't necessarily realize that at first. And so again, I'm just kind of echoing your point of be creative, like think about it. Think about what your product solves and how can you show the proof of it in different ways. Because not only that, now you're actually kind of pushing the front on the different. You're being different on top of all these other companies that might be doing the same process or the same solution or the same product as you, and you're showing it in a different way. That in and of itself is going to bring I don't want to say bring more leads, but bring more attention, right? So.
Oh yeah. Leads, tension, thinking about like everything you can think about. Like there's so many things. Like as an online business owner, there's so many things to consider and so many people to chat with, and
you have to pick and prioritize at some point.
From day one to day 1,000,000th, like. It's just priorities. That's why, like, one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to go all in and start this stream and chat about this and a lot of other like stuff that I'm trying to do in the community to the best extent of the time I can, give in and the energy it's because I started noticing Webflow was a tool that was marketed to designers, as in even the first Webflow ad just says he's a developer. We hate him. Like, if you never saw it, guys, check it out. Like, find the, I think it's a sandwich app, like, the ad, the first one says I think it was Greg, or what's his name? Anybody in the comments know his name? But anyways, that was like, hey, you're a designer, now you can develop sites without the need of a developer, which was very big. That's super big. But then the community outgrew. I mean, the clients that use Webflow outgrew the potential people that know how to use Webflow, but for certain things, for conversion rate optimization, like Jay here, right? For SEO, like me or Shane in the comments or whatever. For development, again, like Jay and others, and and for a lot of factors, for marketing, for paid advertising. There's so many things that needs to be discussed. And if we're just focusing on design and how to build those cool design projects, it forgets like 90, maybe 80% of what online businesses actually are. Like, a lot of complex choices. And I always say, not only SEO, but in general, just like having a website and making it successful, and not losing money on your website, but getting money back on your website is like, you have to understand that it's like playing chess. But the difference between chess and what you're playing is every business owner or website has a different count of chess pieces. They have different powers. And at the same time, you're not playing one-on-one, you're playing against everybody in the world to some extent. And that's why it's hard. Those chess pieces are your decisions that you're making. You're saying, hey, our site will be extremely well optimized. Like, we hired Jay, right? And it's now going to be completely optimized for conversion. Guess what? If you're not getting any traffic, who cares?
Exactly.
So like my H1 on Content Nest is, website that nobody visits makes no money, right? So same here. If nobody visits it, you make no money. But at the same time, if Content Nest team sends like a lot of traffic your way, and somebody like Jay is not helping you to get, I don't know, from 1% conversion to 2% conversion, or even higher, well, you're losing half of your revenue, like legit, because that sounds like 1%, 2%, who cares? But actually, that's half of the money that your company's making if we increase that. And, so yeah. Any last questions, guys? Just ask around. And Bullshire Creative asked a question about SEO recommendations and client pushback. I was kind of thinking we're going to touch on this next time, but now I want to flip the same question to you, just not on SEO, but on CRO while we have you here. Any ideas about how clients push back and how it's hard to communicate, or like any horror stories or whatever of that whole optimization for conversion and the pushback, or the things you have to explain, or the most common trope messages that you have to convey to clients, like that kind of stuff?
I mean, one of the things that stands out right away is those that have, and again, it kind of depends on the industry too, but like those that know what their plan and their goals are and their marketing, I say marketing cohesion as one, tend to have less pushback. I have plenty of times where I've had clients where I'm like, all right, this looks good. Your homepage is like good. We can optimize that, but like we really need to make a landing page for this type of traffic, because you're casting a net out. We need to really focus in on this specific person or type of person, right? Because you have so many different options, and the options aren't the problem. It's just how we're presenting it. And, there's a lot of times like, oh, but I like our homepage. I like having everything up front, and they don't really realize, like, in terms of like conversions and getting people from outcome A to outcome B, like if you give them too many options, it's like analysis paralysis in a sense, and they just don't do anything because of too many options. You need to like handhold them through the process. And a lot of times clients aren't either aware of that or familiar with that, and it's scary to them, right? And I think one of the best ways to kind of combat that is, again, showing expertise, but also being able to kind of take the problem that they have, right, that they see. A lot of times it's like they want to increase conversions, but like that's not their actual problem, right? Their actual problem is like we're losing revenue in this area and we don't know why, or like we need to increase our revenue. Like we have so many visitors coming, but like no one's buying. It's like it's all kind of, it all relates. But and you take that and you kind of, what I like to do, right, is ask questions, and those questions kind of guide them to a point where it's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I get what you're saying. And they see it from their point of view instead of you kind of telling them we need to do this, right? Because when you get forceful, not even forceful, when you get like this is what we have to do because we know it works, like they're not as receptive to that. And so part of dealing with the clients and communication is being able to communicate that in a way that, one, they understand, but they understand from their point of view and kind of answer their questions with. That's kind of how I like kind of approach it, right? And it's tough because you have clients and industries with all different levels. I've had times where it's like they know what conversion rate optimization is, and like they've done it and looked into it themselves. I have other times where they didn't even know that's a thing and they don't understand. Like, well, why like my website's not doing it? I'm not getting sales, and they just think you're gonna put a website up and smack it on and like people come, like and so it's good to know what point or what part of the journey, if you will, that your client's at, to be able to talk to them on that level. Going off on like biggest pushbacks I get a lot of times is they're proud of what they've built and they don't want to change it. But the problem is you're at the point you're at because of what you have, and you're not at the point you want to go because you don't have what you need. And taking a client from, I love what you did here, I love what you've done, it's gotten you from start to here, it's been great. However, if you want to get to point C or point E or point G or Z or whatever it is, we have to change this because this is what got you to here. It's not going to get you to here. And having them kind of come to that realization is the biggest thing. And I find that a lot of times is the hard part, because again, you're trying to show them the future, to show them the what is, based on changing the thing that they built or they have and they're proud of. And they're not taking it in the same way because they don't know the background knowledge and expertise that you have. And so it becomes not a CRO problem, but it becomes I don't want to call it a marketing problem, but it becomes a kind of a communication hurdle for me to clients or for an agency to clients, right? To show them what is possible. And like in a lot of things, that's not easy.
Yeah, showing them what's possible. Like, again, we go a full circle to show them the value, show them the end result, point fingers, shove your results with other companies into their face or whatever. But that's at the end. That's at the after you help them to come to their own conclusions, which is then becomes you, I don't know what kind of manipulative, psychotic, person you are. But in theory, this is just a joke I'm trying to make. Actually, you are helping them. You are like being their online therapist, as in, oh, you have a
You're
website.
Talking in a way that
everybody has a website. Yeah. Like, do you know how other people, how much time and energy and resources and money other teams invest into websites? No? Oh, you're pointing me at this website, and then you start explaining, look, this I can tell you. And I had that many times. The client was like, hey, I love this strategy. Can you do that the same on our website? And you're like, yes, after we build 80% of architecture that we don't have. So your website is now 3 CMS collections. We need like 10 more. And after that, if you raise your budget to, I don't know, this, we can start publishing at the rate that this site is publishing. Look, this site is publishing, 7, 20, 10 posts per week, right? You're now publishing 1. We have to up that. And then you start explaining, and that, of course, that's an SEO part, but I think you get similar things like, can we do this after 7 steps prior to that? And that's, I think, the job we're doing. Like, we're educating the client, and at the same time, as Jay just said, I don't know, this is going to be gold. I will reuse this for sure. You just literally said, like, guide your client to those realizations. Don't just throw them the answer to their heads. Ask questions till they come up with the problems themselves. That's really, really deep, man. Love it.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys.
This comes from dealing with clients a lot,
So, would you migrate from Webflow anytime soon, or this is your holy grail now? You love it, and nothing to improve there?
I mean, I think there's always room for improvement. I think there's always room for optimizing, right? But so here's the thing. Coming from I would never move from Webflow to WordPress personally, and I would never move from that to like Wix or the other things. Not because I think they're bad products, but for the way I work, the way I like to work, the way that I know things are working, it's just not for me. That being said, I do think that a lot of people will blame.
What is it? Speed? What's the difference from other platforms? Why you said it's not the way
the accessibility to the code. Like, coming from a technical back end, Webflow itself, the code is optimized. They care about the speed of things, like just the overall quality of the code. It's funny, I was on a call with Shane earlier this week, and he showed me this part, and I didn't know about, is how much cleaner the code is on a Webflow site versus I forget which one. I think
the typical
Shopify.
Yes. Yeah. The typical Shane's, 90% less code, same results.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. When you see that, I saw that also a few times.
Yeah.
And I even asked him
that.
Yeah. Like, asked that screenshot once for a specific thing, but that explains a lot, right? That changes the perspective forever. You cannot go back from that.
Right. Exactly. And so not only the code quality itself, but even just being able to work freely. Like I said before, Webflow is a visual web builder, right? It's not a drag and drop. It's when I'm making a website and building it out, I'm still coding. Like, I'm still using CSS principles. I'm still using Flexbox or grids or, all those things that I know and aware of. It allows me to do that. Other site builders try to take the development side of things and make it so an everyday person can use it. And that's great. I think that works. I think that has its place, and I think that is a good thing. But for me, it actually slows me down and makes it harder to build things. That being said, I think a lot of people will blame the platform for the quality of their builds, and I don't think that carries as much truth as people think. People always say, like, WordPress is slow, Webflow is faster, and I think that Webflow has better quality code because it is newer in tech, right? But at the same time, like, you can still have a fast WordPress site. You can still have a slow Webflow site. A lot of it, and again, kind of goes on to the earlier thing, is the quality of the person knowing what they're doing as they build it out, right? Like, Webflow extrapolates a lot of time based on the code, and WordPress kind of allows the same thing, but it's like you still need to know the fundamentals and the principles to build a concrete foundational site. And so for me, if I were to ever move, it would have to be something that's not available now that does what Webflow does better, or I would actually probably move more so back to straight custom code. It's just because that is the fundamental, and everything I think we do. I'm not saying this won't change in the future right on the road, but everything we use now is an abstraction off of the fundamentals.
Yeah.
So I love Webflow, but I not afraid to call things out where they need to be, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's not like a taking it to the grave kind of thing. I'll never look at anything else. I'm always looking and always seeing, like, oh, what does something better? Like, every project itself has different needs and different focuses, and so, I like to build in Webflow, but sometimes something simpler may be better for a little landing page, so.
With that, end game on a tiny tangent on why we love Webflow and why our practices are only on Webflow. I do only SEO on Webflow. Jay does only development and not only development and conversion optimization on Webflow. And we just pick it for now. And I agree with Jay. It can be something else, but definitely I haven't seen it yet. Like, haven't considered it so far. So with that tangent out of the way, I just want to finish it out with a few reminders that this was Jay with us today. He's our guest. Follow him on Twitter. Links are in the description, and you know where to find him. And then he has a development company that specializes in developing sites on a retainer, right? You guys do it monthly pay.
Just starting out and trying it out. Yeah, I like it so far. So
yeah. And how does the service, like how does the service look for a client that wants to work with you after watching this?
Yeah, I mean, so it kind of goes with the way I like to say it is the unlimited development tasks, right? And so like a lot of people do that, right? If you have tasks unlimited one by one, right? But the thing that I kind of, or a twist I like to add on to it is like, if you don't have anything for me or it's small tasks on the side, I'm always like, I'm conversion focused. Like that's what I know. And so I'll be continually conversion optimizing things, coming up with reports to say, hey, let's try this. Let's look at this. And working at increasing your conversion on top of it. And the way I like to word it is you're getting access to, me, if you're working with me or whatever, for the access that I know, or the knowledge that I know. And the knowledge comes from, I have a technical background, I'm in marketing, I have it's combining all that and you have access to that. So that's kind of how I've been going with it. And I like it so far.
Awesome concept. Love it. Yeah, so much value. And for those who missed the beginning or just joining in now or just watching this later in the future, be sure to go be sure to check out, Jay has a landing page guide. I saw it, and if you log in, you will be able to get it as well. So just do check it out, and you're gonna give Jay your email, because he's good at that, right? Conversions. So if you give Jay your email over here, I just shared link in the comments, you will get that. And I saw it. It's for those who know what it is, it's a Reloom component based guide, basically, that explains you how to focus on which parts, what kind of things, and it's basically headings that are screaming at you and forcing you to change them into something very specific. Really like the concept, and it's built on Reloom, so client first, naming convention. Everybody knows how to deal with that. If you don't, there's now a lot of other actually naming conventions popping up. But if you know how to do it, you're gonna love it. If you use client first, if you use Reloom, and if you want to, or if you just want to take a look at that and want headings to scream at you, to tell you to say, hey, now say this here, say that there. This is something you can do, and Jay, I think, will be happy for that email, and we'll drop you a few emails here and there with a lot of tips. So thanks a lot for being here. It was awesome. Can we repeat this sometime in the future on something more specific? Because I love this. And Dale was saying, Dale, by the way, was saying such an interesting conversation. It actually was. Isabella is also saying thanks to us, and it was an awesome stream. I love this. This is so good. Honestly, very hard to stop because I know we can do a lot of other things. So we could go for at least an hour or so based on experience. But we have to stop it here. And this was awesome. And I hope to have you one more time on some sort of specific topic. If you ever up for it, we can arrange
totally
that
up for it. Like, you've already hit the nail on the head. I love to just talk things out. Even if we have different opinions, it's good to hash it out and talk it through and just have the conversation. Everyone will learn. And I appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure.
This was a gold mine. If you're now watching this and just missed the first half, really take a look. In the first 10 minutes or something, we looked into how Jay got into this, but later we started touching and there was so much gold. Really love having you, Jay. And well, it's that, and we're gonna be done for today. Thanks a lot for being here on Thursdays, guys. This was Search Historian for Content Nest, and we had Jay today. We spoke about conversion optimization and a lot of other things. Yeah, and this was a blast. See you guys next week. Bye. All right.